What happens when the one thing that defines you for years, your sport, is just suddenly gone? For many athletes, retirement isn't about just leaving the game. It's a full-blown identity crisis. Okay? And study shows that athletes that have a strong athletic identity struggle the most in transitions. So depression, lack of purpose, even feeling invisible in the real world. But here's the truth: you are not losing your identity, you're evolving it. And today we're breaking down the 5-step process to grieve your athletic identity without abandoning the grit that made you who you are, that made you elite, plus how to repurpose it for your next chapter. And yes, myself, I had to pivot. I had a forced pivot moment because the person I was supposed to interview today, my other host, and my schedule ended up not aligning with the date we had planned. So, just like sports, I had to adapt, I had to pivot and still execute. Hi, I'm Dominique Wilson, and this is Still an Athlete, a podcast where ex players are building their empires. So, personal story. When I walked away from basketball, or when basketball left me, honestly, it's been multiple occasions. I tore my meniscus. I tore my meniscus senior year, heading into my senior year in college. I didn't get drafted in the WNBA, and I decided to retire 3 years ago. 2.5. I don't know. Who cares? I retired. And I just felt like I've totally just been erased. I didn't know my purpose. I lost my identity. My entire life was literally athlete on repeat. Literally was a gym rat. Was in the gym in the morning, was in the gym at night in high school. Like, I found time in the morning before school started. I was in the gym. And then before practice, I was putting up shots. And then after practice, I was putting up shots. And that continuous cycle happened throughout my entire high school career, college career. I was a complete gym rat. Basketball was literally my life. Basketball was life, no joke. And when that was suddenly taken away from me, dude, I fell into a deep depression. And one day I will dive deeper into my story on this podcast because I feel like a lot of athletes will relate to that. But for this one, not going to do it. But after just basketball just being taken away from me, I lost my identity. And I didn't have a clue on what to do next or what my purpose is in this world. So, does that sound familiar? I'm pretty sure it does. So, again, today was supposed to be an interview, but just like how an injury forces you to sit out, you have to adjust. I had to adjust. So today is a solo one. It's my first one, and it's packed with insightful research and steps to navigate your identity loss. I also want to mention, excuse the noise if you hear kids playing outside. I'm in Latvia, and I don't know, it's evening, but I guess the weather was great today, and there are kids that just don't want to go inside, don't want to go to sleep. So excuse the noise. So, first step, acknowledge the loss, your grieving phase. You're not just retiring, you're losing a lifestyle, a community, and a version of yourself. And avoiding the grieving process is not allowing yourself to cope with the emotion in, frankly, a healthy way. And it prolongs the grieving process. Avoiding the grief will only result in struggling longer. And some people will tell you that skipping this stage is healthy, which is true. It can be healthy. However, that does not mean to ignore them. You want to be aware of your emotions so you can know if you need to seek out professional help or not. Even though I do encourage you to seek out mental health professionals and not do this alone, not feel like you have to be alone in this process, in this grieving process, especially if you have no one to talk to. I did this coming out of college when I graduated and I was not drafted, and I found myself with no job, no money. When I was in college, we did not have NIL deals, okay? We were not getting paid. We were barely getting paid, and we did not have time to get a job. So, no money. And no idea of my purpose while trying to navigate how to become a professional basketball player, again, without being drafted. And what happened as a result of prolonging my grief is that I fell into a deep, deep depression. And it got so bad, y'all, that it started to feel normal. Being in that state of mind, in that state of feeling, started to feel normal. I did not know how it felt to be happy again. I really didn't. And my body started to crave those depressive feelings. And when I did experience being happy, it felt weird. It felt weird and it felt wrong. And then I looked for ways to dive back into being sad, being depressed again, because that was just my normal state. That was the way I now knew how to live. My body just got comfortable in being in that zone of grieving, and I became numb to it. And it took me almost 8 years to fully recover out of that state and get to the point where I am now, which I am grateful for. I did the work. And in this podcast, again, I'm going to share some of the things you can do to help get out of that state if you are in it, or to avoid ever falling into that state. I do not want you to go or experience what I experienced. So again, I created this podcast to help you, and the people I will be interviewing on this podcast will also give you great tips on how they were able to navigate and find their purpose outside of sports. So don't prolong your grief. It will just lead you down a road of anxiety and depression. And instead, here are some actionable steps that you can do today. And also continue to listen to this podcast because it will help with that. So here's an actionable step that you can do, which is write a letter to yourself. Write a letter to your sport. Thank it, vent to it, and then say goodbye to it. And if you're someone that wants to or likes to burn paper and just get that feeling of something being completely destroyed, completely gone, do that as well. So writing a letter to your sport or former identity allows you to relive those moments. Come to terms to realities and acknowledge what's working out for you right now or what's not working. You may also find that your brain will start to think of and try to navigate ways into finding your purpose, or think of other solutions outside of your sport. Or that you may realize that you are hurting deeply and that you may have to go find help, which is okay. That's not weak. You are a strong individual for acknowledging that and taking the actions towards that. And all this allows you to process your emotion and to acknowledge that your sport is over. You are retired. and that it is now to move on. You may even find peace doing this. And I wrote down an example. So if you're watching the video version of this, yes, I am going to be looking away so I can read it to you. An example would be, I'm so proud of the moments, victories, wins, losses, and relationships I built with basketball. I thank it for the lessons I learned from it and strengthening my mentality. I know from the battles I've faced and the hard work I put in that I can adapt to anything and face any challenge and will still come out victorious or better, because you never stop learning and you never stop getting better as long as you take actionable steps necessary. Take the actionable steps that are necessary. I know there will be nothing harder in life that compares to running 51 suicides at 5 a.m., true story, or conditioning practice in the hot summer sun in North Carolina on the track. I survived that, and I will continue to survive whatever life throws at me. I'm grateful for what I have learned and the time I had with the sport. But now it's time for me to let go and find my next purpose in whatever new arena I find in this life. I will now be a better human because of my athletic mentality, adaptability, and resilience. Goodbye, basketball. And DM me your letter if you want to talk more, if you want to vent more, or you just want to share what you wrote. My Instagram is still period an athlete, and I will write and I will link the Instagram in the description on this podcast. 2, separate who you are from what you did. You weren't just an athlete. You were a strategist, a leader, someone who thrived under pressure. And those traits don't expire. Okay, they are human skills. And the lie that was told to many athletes is that your value was only in your sport. Come on now, not true. And let me tell you something. While I was transitioning in other professions outside of sports, when I was in that stage of my life, and even when I got into acting, you want to know the number one thing I consistently heard from acting coaches, bosses, my colleagues, whoever was in that space, is that businesses, or again, whatever profession outside of sports, want to hire athletes because of their mindset and their traits, or B, people that were former athletes usually exceed more than people who were not, because they know what it means to work hard and execute towards a goal without making excuses or letting inconveniences deter them away from their goal. There are a lot of people that respect athletes. So it's time you do the same. It's time you respect yourself. Have the confidence to know that your mindset, the traits that you learn in sport, in your sport, will take you far in life, will help you achieve and be successful in whatever venture you decide to take. And let me tell you, I used to think my work ethic only mattered on the court, until again I started branching out into other professions. And I quickly realized that was a lie. And a great article I want you to check out and read when you have the time is called Letting Go: Separating Your Self-Worth from Performance in Sport by Premier Sport Psychology. And I will drop that article link again in the description on this podcast. Or if you're watching on YouTube, I will drop it in the description on YouTube as well. And if you're on Instagram, then head over to YouTube or Spotify and get the link. But, and again, I'm going to read down the summary of it. It discusses stepping away from perfectionism or traits that you align with your sport and challenge yourself to use it and be excellent in your everyday life. Chasing excellence every day. So, this may look like if you're a strategist and you can try to strategize how to get more rest throughout your day by maybe creating a meal prep time or day to get your meals done in one day so you don't have to take the time out of your days throughout the week to create breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You strategize around that. If you're a leader, how can you motivate your family or people around you to, I don't know, be more clean? They can be more clean around the house and you can lead by example around them. I don't know, but just focusing on using your traits in everyday life can make you more comfortable of separating yourself and your athletic traits from your sport and using it in other arenas outside of it. Step 3. Step 3. Reclaim control. Small wins matter. So in sports, progress was measured with stats. Now is learning a new skill, networking, or even therapy. Any forward motion that you are doing, it counts. You may be someone that is hard on yourself, and trust me, I know because I am. And it's hard for you to see the positive things throughout your day because you might not be where you are. You might not be where you want to be in your life. And you just haven't achieved that goal yet. But the wins are in the process. Remember that. It's about the journey. It's about the process, not the goal. It's in the grind or the actions you take while you are striving towards your goal. And a great quote from the late, great Kobe Bryant, the second best basketball player of all time behind Michael Jordan. Go argue with your mama, don't argue with me. He has two great quotes that touches on this. And the first one is that the mindset isn't about seeking a result. It's more about the process of getting to that result. It's about the journey and the approach. It's a way of life. I do think that it's important in all endeavors to have that mentality. And then the second great quote that I love by him is that those times when you get up early and you work hard, those times when you stay up late and you work hard, those times when you don't feel like working, you're too tired, you don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway, that is actually the dream. That's the dream. It's not the destination, it's the journey. So, rest in peace to Kobe and Gigi and everyone that was on that flight. So, what he is saying in these quotes is that it's not about the destination. It's about the journey and what you did along the journey that matters. It matters the most. It really does. Those are the wins, regardless of how freaking small they are, because you put in the work. You got up early. You did what was needed to be done to try to achieve your goal, to prove to yourself and your subconscious mind that you will do the work. You will get the work done and you will not stop until you achieve your goal, achieve your dream. And even when you achieve your dream, you're not going to stop there. You're going to keep going. You're going to keep getting better. You're going to keep growing. So just like in your sport, before you can learn those cool moves, those advanced moves, those trick plays, you had to start by learning the basics first. You had to continuously work on the small goals, the small steps, the small habits, the skills, the basic skills, until you were advanced enough to move on to, again, another skill. And you just continue to build up to that process. And the goal was still the same, to be a great athlete, to be better than what you were yesterday. And even though some days are treacherous, are hard, are difficult, make you want to quit, you do not. You still had that feeling of accomplishment because you didn't give up. You knew that you had to take those small steps in order to get to your goal, to get to the vision of being that great athlete that you saw yourself. You had to do the work. So, I want you to do after this podcast tonight, whenever you have free time, to write 5 small things that you are grateful for. Remember, small things, not large things, small things. It can be I woke up with the sun shining on my face. I had toothpaste to brush my teeth with. Or it can be the small things that align to your bigger goal that you needed to do. Like I read, I don't know, I took a cybersecurity course on LinkedIn and I did it for 5 minutes today. Great. That's a small step that's going to get you closer to knowing and being more knowledgeable on cybersecurity. So write down those 5 small things you can be grateful for that you did today or that has happened to you. And you can do this every day, or you can read what you wrote down daily just to remind yourself that you are taking the steps, you are making progress towards your bigger goal. And to also remind yourself that good things are taking place in your life. They're happening in your life. It's easy for us humans to focus on the negative aspects of life, the negativity, and it's harder for us to really see what the good things in our life. And writing down 5 small goals, 5 small, not goals, 5 small things you can be grateful for can really help open your eyes to the positivity that happens in your life on a daily basis. 4, find your new team. So finding your new team means finding people that you can trust around you that are positive people or that is a positive impact in your life while you're going through this transformative process, while you're transforming, while you're trying to find just another purpose in your life. But it's one thing I want to tell you that I do not want you to do is isolate yourself. Do not do that. Isolation is the enemy. Seek communities like this podcast or other outlets that you know of that can help you get you through this transition of once being an athlete to finding another arena, finding another purpose in your life. Or just someone that is empathetic and can provide you a safe space where you can vent and make you feel less alone in this process, in this world. Because the last thing you need is more negativity in your life. Believe that. You're trying to move past this, and having someone or a village that can help you transition will help you feel less alone. And if you're someone that finds it hard to open up, to grieve in front of people or community, then maybe it's wise for you to find a therapist that you can talk to. Or what I like to do is journal. You can find one of these shadow work journals right online, right on Google. You see them all the time. People sell them all the time on TikTok, Amazon, whatever. Find you a good journal. Start writing in that. Start venting in that. You don't want to sit and let your thoughts just start bubbling and going crazy in your mind, and you can't control your thoughts, you can't control your mind, and it's just getting out of hand. You do not want that. Trust me, I've been there. I've done that. It doesn't lead to anything productive or positive. You want to release that negative emotion that you have pent up inside of you. You want to release that. You want to get rid of that so you can finally Walk down that path of healing yourself, healing from that grief of not being an athlete anymore, because it sucks. It does. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise, and don't let anybody force you out of your grieving process. Take as long as you need, but do the steps necessary to find ways out of it, to release those emotions out of your mind, out of your spirit, out of your aura. Release them. Releasing them would just help you find comfort and acceptance in where you are and outside of being or used to being an athlete. Again, what helps me is that I journal, I meditate daily. It can be for 5 minutes, it can be for 10 minutes. It does not have to be long, especially some people find it hard to meditate because their mind just starts talking to them, which that is the purpose of meditation, is trying to control your mind, but I digress. I have a friend that might kill me for saying that. Whatever. We can talk about it later. And I write. I use my art to express myself, which is acting and writing. And these are just outlets that allow me to express my emotions, get it out of my head, and just clear out the distressing thoughts that have taken over my life, and move on from it, be done with it, and just continue to grow and heal. Now, I did do some research and found some communities that can help you with this process, and I curated a list that I will try to put in the description section. Still new to this, still trying to understand the platform, how it works. If it's not there, again, DM me on Still an Athlete. I'll send it to you there, or just message me on YouTube, and I will send over the list to you there as well. And last one, number 5, numero cinco, reinvent. Don't replace your identity. Yes, of course, naturally, you're not an athlete. So your identity of being an athlete is gone. Bye-bye. It's not there anymore. It changed. You're not playing anymore, regardless if that was a voluntary or not. But you are still a competitive person. You're still disciplined. You're still resilient. You're still all these great traits that you have picked up in sports or have naturally been, but now it's time to use that in a new arena. Reinventing yourself does not mean taking away all those traits because you're not an athlete anymore. No, don't do that. That's stupid. Why would you do that? Those are great traits. Those are human skills. Reinventing yourself means taking those traits and just applying it into a new profession, in a new arena. And again, you might be saying, well, Dom, this is why I'm listening to your podcast, because I don't know what profession to get into. I don't know my other purpose. Duh, what are you talking about? But I will challenge you to ask yourself, what are the 5 to 10 traits that you naturally possess, and to think of a profession that aligns with those traits, even if you have to do some research. Do it. ChatGPT, DeepSeek, whatever. They're great at this. Ask them. Hey, ChatGPT is my assistant. I'm not afraid to admit that. Use them. But I digress. Doing this helps cut out the trial and error process of what I did, was just going through and finding different jobs to try and hating it and falling into a deeper depression and just feeling more lost and feeling like there is nothing out there for me that I can do other than being a basketball player, which sounds really bad, makes me sound like one of those television stupid jocks, but I'm not that. Of course, you're not that. Anyways, yeah, you don't want to go through that process. It's a long process. It takes up years, and you want to cut out the trial and error version and give yourself a chance. So yeah, and just cutting out that version, even though I know the economy is awful right now, and we will take whatever check comes our way. But that is a story for another day. Right now, we are focusing on the 5 to 10 traits you naturally have and trying to find a profession that aligns with them. Okay? Giving yourself this opportunity allows you to have a head start in actually finding another purpose outside of basketball. I'm sorry, outside of the sport that you played. I was a basketball player, so not just outside of basketball. So for example, for me, I asked myself and it looked like um what did I do naturally as a kid that brought happiness? Like, no one had to tell me to do this. I just woke up every day, went out of my way, and did it because it brought fulfillment and joy to my life. But that's all I wanted to do outside of sports, which was writing poetry, writing stories, art. I love to draw, I love to sketch, um, putting on plays. Y'all, when I tell you, I used to grab my cousins, especially my cousins from Chicago when they were in town. I used to direct plays from, I used to just find music videos on YouTube was growing back then. It was new, but I used to direct everyone, find music videos, and we used to perform to the adults in our family, and that brought joy to my life. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know I was acting. I didn't know I was directing. I didn't know I was producing. I was just doing what came to my head, what I thought was fun, and what I loved. And when I retired from basketball and I found myself in limbo, I didn't know what my purpose was or what to do. I asked myself these questions and I realized I love the arts. Even though I never was in theater, I was in one like middle school play. I really don't count that. I really had no experience other than this is what I used to do when I was a kid. This is what brought me happiness. Let's try it out. And I went to my first acting class in Atlanta, Georgia, and I caught the acting bug. And ever since then, 3 years later, I am still acting. I have met wonderful people. I have built a network and connections with people I thought I would never meet, like A-listers, whatever. I didn't think that taking that one acting class will lead me this to here, but I am grateful. And I am now writing my own shorts, my own pilots that I will now be producing and creating throughout the summer, throughout 2025. Just asking myself, what did I love to do as a child naturally helped me find my purpose outside of sports. And quite frankly, what I'm doing now, I love way more than when I was an athlete, than when I was playing basketball, when I was in that purpose, in that profession. I love being an artist. And some of you might say, well, that is what you were supposed to do in the first place. How was I supposed to know? You don't know when you're a kid. I love basketball as well. You can love multiple things. That's why I'm saying there are more professions, more purposes out there in life than your sport. And right now, you may feel like you may think that's not true, but just ask yourself this question: what did I love to do when I was a kid naturally? And see what jots up in your mind, what comes up in your mind. And if you're someone that says, Dominique, girl, sports was the only thing I loved to do as a child, what are you talking about? I guess there's no hope for me. Listen, ask yourself, how were you when you were playing in that sport? What were your traits? Were you someone that didn't mind doing the dirty work? Were you the Draymond Green? I don't mean like punching people out, but like playing defense. You didn't care about scoring. Were you the leader, the captain, the quarterback, the point guard that was drawing up plays, getting people in the right position, um, telling people where to go? Did you do that naturally? Were you the most competitive kid out there? Like people thought you were nuts because you were just too competitive. Like everything, like even after the sport, when you were walking home, I bet I can walk faster than you. I bet like everything was a competition to you. Were you that kid? Take those traits and align them with the profession that calls for those traits, calls for the people to come work at this job or for you to create your own business. Align those traits with those professions. And you may have to do some research, or like I said, ask ChatGPT. It always got your back. And if this still does not help you, don't feel like you need to know. Don't feel like you need to know right now. Take your time. This is not for you to figure out overnight. This is a journey. Just have the question, what did I love to do as a kid naturally? And what am I naturally good at? And let that seep in. Let that seep into your subconscious mind. Ask yourself those questions, those two questions, every night before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning. And just be still, be quiet, and let your mind, your subconscious mind, the universe, God, whatever you believe in, let it download the answer into you. And whatever pop in your mind, don't judge it. Don't do that. Just write it down, let it breathe, let it live. And if you need a moment, come back to it and then do some research on it and see if what you wrote down actually aligns with you. If it's actually true. Just breathe. Okay? Give yourself grace. Do the research. Listen to yourself. Don't judge it. And see what comes up for you. So here's the bottom line. Retiring from sports does not mean retiring from yourself. The jersey might be framed, or you might have cut it up with scissors, or you might have burned it and threw it in the trash. I don't know. But you're not done competing, and you are not done giving up on yourself. Never. If this hit home, screenshot this episode and tag me as Still an Athlete on Instagram, at Still period an Athlete on Instagram, and DM me and I'll share your screenshot on my story as well. And also subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. New episode drop weekly, and next week is a fun one. It is an ex-female basketball player that has created a huge name in the music industry. You don't want to miss this. Also, if you have someone you want to hear on the show, DM me their name, DM me their Instagram page, and I'll reach out to them. I'll do what I can on my end to get them on here. So please leave a review if you like this episode, if you like what this podcast is all about. And I'll leave you with this to remember. You were never just a sport, and you will always still be an athlete. All right. Stay strong, y'all. You got this. Bye for now.